I'm Dee DeLee. I have been at Blackwater Methodist since around 1992 when my wife Gail and I decided we needed to move to a church that was a little closer to our residence. At the time we were living in Monhegan, and we visited. This was the church that my grandfather had attended for 70 years or so of his life, and I kind of felt a connection and knew a few folks through that connection. The decision for my family and I, as far as tithing goes, really wasn't a decision. As a child growing up, my parents were adamant that God got his portion and he got it first. And as a child, you think of, well, God gets 10% and we keep everything else. And as I grew older, you come to a greater understanding, I think, that that's really a silly thought. It all belongs to God. Tithing's simply a way of giving a portion back to him. Along the same lines, I think it's silly to think that God needs our money or that the church needs our money. I know Gail and I do not give because we think someone needs our money. We give because we know that it's good for us to give. It's a practice, it's a habit, it's just a way of life, and like I say, I've never known any other way. I think when I sit down each month and write out the checks to the mortgage and the car note and Demco and the check to the church, it's a reminder, that it all belongs to God. It's more a matter of how we manage and how we are stewards of all the gifts that God has given us, not just that one small portion. In a sense, I guess it's ironic. I don't think my children have ever seen my wife or I put anything in an offering plate. However, they're well aware that each month when we sit down and write out the bills, they know that that's just one of the checks that's written. That's what we do, and I hope that they realize the importance and understand the importance of budgeting, and that's just a part of how we use the gifts that God has given us. At the same time, I think stewardship is far more than just money. It's also about our use of our time. It's our use of everything that God has given us. I've always felt that sometimes we get it backwards. We think of salvation and accepting Christ as our Savior as being the great end point, the finish line. But in truth, as we all know when we think about it, accepting Christ is simply the starting gun. That's where it begins. And to think that we can go from that point forward in life and not grow and not become better at who we are and what we do, I think we really have to search ourselves if that's not occurring. And that covers all aspects of our Christian life, our time management, the giving, our stewardship, our relationships. As we grow in Christ, we begin to realize that it's not about brownie points. We don't give money or time because we're ranking up on a scorecard in heaven. It's just about being all that we can be. The older I get, the shorter I realize life really is. And we're just passing through. For me to look around and say, look what I have, look at all that I've accomplished or all that I've earned, and as if I deserve that, I think that's kind of silly. we're stewards, and I have the privilege of using these things for a period of time while I'm here, and I'll be gone. I think when we take that perspective and we look at life in that way, then growing towards that relationship with Jesus makes a lot more sense. It's also a lot easier. You know, we're not going to be here forever. Our possessions and the things that we surround ourselves with, they're only with us for this short time. And I think as we understand that, then it allows us to put more of our time and emphasis into our relationships and things that are a little more important and maybe a little longer bearing.